The Teutonic Knights were an elite military order established in the 12th century and active until the late 16th century. Their battles had a massive impact on the shaping of European history. Now, let's explore this crucial chapter in world history and learn more about their formation to their legacy. This is the story of the Teutonic Knights. In 1198, the Teutonic Order, a Catholic military organization, was established. Its members were known as Teutonic Knights. During the Third Crusade, the Teutonic Knights sought to recapture Jerusalem from the Arabs. In the course of this unsuccessful endeavor, they established a hospital outside Acre during the siege of the city. The Pope conferred the hospital with the status of a self-governing military organization, and the Knights thereafter continued to thrive. The Middle East proved to be too challenging to maintain, so the ambitious order changed their strategy and instead sought to convert Christians and expand their territory into Central and Eastern Europe. The Teutonic Knights, recognizable by their iconic black cross on a white tunic, were effective traders, diplomats, and conquerors. From their home in Prussia, they extended their influence far and wide, constructing castles from Sicily to Lithuania. In 1187, Saladin, the Sultan of Egypt and Syria, captured Jerusalem, prompting Pope Gregory VIII to call for the Third Crusade. Despite being led by some of Europe's most prominent figures, the project encountered numerous issues, the most significant of which was the unexpected passing of Frederick I, Barbarossa, during the journey. Grief-stricken by Barbarossa's sudden death, the majority of his army returned home. Yet a few German knights kept going and aided in the siege of Acre until its conclusion in July 1191. Although they achieved other victories, the Crusaders never attempted to take Jerusalem, even though they were close enough to see it. A resolution was reached to maintain control of a limited area near Acre and to guarantee the safety of Christian pilgrims visiting the Holy Land. In 1190, a group of German knights established a field hospital in honor of Saint Mary. In March 1198, Pope Innocent III bestowed upon its members the title of an independent military order known as Fratres Domus Hospitalis Sancta Mariae Teutonicorum. This is how the Teutonic Order came to be, which would later become renowned, and its members referred to as Teutonic Knights. This military order, like many of its contemporaries, combined the two lifestyles of knighthood and monasticism. The Order of Knights acquired territory in certain areas of the Middle East that were governed by the Crusaders and constructed several castles, particularly around Acre. The order was established to protect the possessions of the Crusaders. Furthermore, due to their strong ties with the Armenians in Cilicia, the order was able to acquire land in the region, acting as a counterbalance to the Templar Knights. The Teutonic Knights renamed the Montfort fortress, located in the hills of Galilee to the northeast of Acre, as Starkenberg, and made it the headquarters of their order. The order acquired two strongholds in eastern Cilicia and gradually gained more land, including areas in Greece, Italy, and Central Europe. A Grand Master, selected by an electoral college, headed the order and was required to confer with his top officers and commanders. During the 15th century, the Livonian Order, which was based in Prussia, saw a second master rise to power and become more autonomous. On rare occasions, a master was overthrown by their officers, and in one particular instance, an unpopular master was even murdered. The order held sway over numerous regions in Europe and the Middle East, organizing them into administrative provinces. Many of the recruits to the castles convents that were scattered throughout Teutonic lands were of Germanic descent, hailing from Franconia, Thuringia, the Rhine, and other German regions. The members of the knightly order, typically from the upper classes but sometimes from lower social standings, were scattered across many commanderies, each containing between 10 and 80 members. Prospective members of the military order made solemn pledges of poverty, celibacy, and subservience. People were motivated to join the crusade due to the promise of rewards in the afterlife, the potential for exciting adventures and career advancement, as well as the provision of basic amenities such as food and shelter. German settlers were usually only allowed to join the order as priests or serving half-brethren. Each castle convent was home to a group of local crossbowmen, as well as non-combatants like servants and artisans. Ultimately, foreign knights were not unheard of, as the order was officially international, although the majority of members were from German territories. The size of the brotherhood changed depending on the outcome of conflicts and the acquisition or loss of land. In Prussia, the number of members steadily decreased over time, starting with 700 in 1379, 400 in 1450, 160 in 1513, and ending with just 55 in 1525. It is estimated that the number of knights in the order did not surpass 1,300. The order acquired revenue from spoils of war and seized lands, but also from commerce and land rents, as well as voluntary contributions in the form of money, merchandise, or land. In the 15th century, some knights' brethren were required to pay a fee upon joining, and taxes were imposed on the people living in Teutonic territories. In order to fulfill its objectives, the order had to hire mercenaries, as it had more demands for knights than it could actively recruit. The commanderies of the order provided members with training, housing, and a retirement home, as well as contributing to the local community through hospices, hospitals, schools, and cemeteries. Churches were constructed, maintained, and decorated by artists, all of which was funded by the order. The Order of Knights was renowned for its skilled and heavily armed warriors, as well as their formidable stone fortresses. The Teutonic Knights were recognizable by the black crosses on a white background or with a white border. These crosses were often seen on shields, white surcoats, helmets, and pennants. Half-brothers donned grey garments instead of the pristine white worn by knights. The Teutonic Knights had to abide by a plethora of rigid regulations, more than what was required of other military orders. It was acceptable to have a beard, but long hair, flashy clothing, and accessories were not encouraged. Knights were not permitted to possess money or any type of personal belongings. Not even their garments could be stored in a secure container. Prior to the 15th century, the Teutonic Knights did not use personal seals or burial monuments, unlike other orders. It was not allowed to have a personal coat of arms. Any type of overindulgent entertainment was not allowed. During the Middle Ages, knights were not allowed to participate in jousting competitions, interact with other classes of knights, or hunt for sport. Woodcarving was the one hobby that could help to alleviate tedium. In 1244, disaster befell the order when the Ayyubid Sultan of Egypt conquered the Kingdom of Jerusalem. At La Fourbi, close to Gaza, a catastrophic number of Teutonic Knights, 437 out of 440, were slain in battle. In 1271, the powerful Mamluks of Egypt and Syria took over Montfort Fortress, thus ending the Teutonic presence in the Middle East. The Teutonic Order managed to retain a new headquarters at Acre until 1291, when it too was captured by the Mamluks. With Conrad von Feuchtwangen at the helm, the order moved to Venice under the new Grand Master. With the order's withdrawal from Middle Eastern affairs, a more sensible focus was placed on Northern and Central Europe, which was already a familiar area of operation for the Knights. During the 13th and 14th centuries, the Catholic Teutonic Knights waged a crusade in Prussia and the Baltic region, primarily targeting pagan Lithuanians and Orthodox Russians. However, the order sought to expand its own power and influence, leading to conflicts with many other nationalities. For many years, the region between Prussia and Livonia was the subject of much contention. Eventually, the Teutonic Knights were able to take control of the entire area of Prussia. In 1260 CE, a major revolt occurred among the Prussians, who were then under Teutonic rule, which sparked a series of savage wars. The order was not without its critics, who claimed that it had adopted policies that were not in accordance with Christian values towards other believers. The Teutonic Knights were accused of committing numerous atrocities in Livonia, such as killing Christians, destroying non-religious churches, impeding religious conversion, and trading with non-Christians. It has been said that many pagans in Central Europe refused to be Christianized because they did not want to be under the oppressive rule of the Teutonic Knights. In 1310, the Pope initiated an inquiry, yet it did not lead to any conclusions, and the order maintained its good standing despite the harm to its reputation. It was acknowledged that the gossip was being propagated by the order's opponents and adversaries. In 1308, the Teutonic Order achieved success in acquiring Danzig and eastern Pomerania, and in 1346, they were successful in obtaining control of northern Estonia. The Order's campaigns in Prussia and Livonia were greatly successful, leading to a major victory against the Lithuanians, which increased their prestige and attracted nobles from all over Europe, including the later King of England, Henry IV. When Lithuania adopted Christianity in 1389, the idea of crusading no longer had any relevance. It soon became obvious that the Teutonic Knights were more focused on gaining power and wealth than on converting people to Christianity. As the wars went on, the Teutonic Order was in danger of being wiped out when the Lithuanians, Poles, Russians, Mongols, and other minor allied states joined forces. On July 15, 1410, the Teutonic Knights suffered a devastating defeat at the Battle of Tannenberg. As a result, their headquarters had to be moved to Königsberg in 1457, as the order had been greatly reduced and had become largely secularized. Despite its lack of success, the Teutonic Order's Livonian branch persisted into the 16th century and mainly concentrated on fighting schismatic Russians and Ottoman Turks. The secularized order persisted as a minor military unit in the armies of Germany and Austria-Habsburg until the 18th century. It still exists today, but in a non-military capacity, providing healthcare, welfare projects, and sponsoring artists. The archives of the order, currently located in Vienna, provide a wealth of information about the Middle Ages and the operations of military orders in general. Throughout the years, the Teutonic Order achieved a great number of successes. However, it also faced military defeats, particularly when it came to protecting the Holy Land and combating the Russians. Yet, it still managed to fulfill its two primary objectives: propagating Christianity and aiding the impoverished and destitute. Conquering many territories, the order converted a significant amount of pagans and then populated those areas with migrating Germans in a methodical colonization process. The order's proficiency in commerce and management often led to clashes with other nations, ironically resulting in its own downfall. When former adversaries embraced Christianity, the Teutonic Order had no reason to continue existing as it had before. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe.